This is Into the Fire.
It is so cool to invite into the fire the Australian 2021 Olympian, race walking extraordinaire, super nice guy, and Aussie medal hopeful, Rhydian Cowley. Nice to meet you, Rhydian.
Thanks for having me.
That's okay. Okay, before we start, congratulations on making the Tokyo Olympics, buddy. An amazing achievement. You must be so excited.
Yeah, I mean, it's just been a crazy last year and a half with the pandemic. So, yeah, just to be able to be named and feeling like, it's only a couple of months away now. So it's feeling really close. It's starting to get a bit exciting.
Yeah, it must be. Now, I have to ask, what gets a kid from Melbourne into race walking? Because I've done it, and man, it is hard. Surely running must have been easier.
Yeah, I suppose it is. I started walking or race walking when I did little athletics. So I found that the longer distance runs and the walks were what I was naturally, I guess, really good at. But had a little bit more success in the walking earlier, and I think that convinced me to stick with it.
Yeah, and you have a big good for
Yeah.
that stuff.
Yeah, and I suppose when I was 17, I made my first Australian team as a junior in a World Race Walking Cup, and yeah, I sort of cottoned onto the idea that I could go and see a bit of the world through my sport. So that definitely encouraged me to keep sticking at it and working hard.
Yeah, pretty cool. You competed in many World Junior Championships when you were younger and made massive improvements each time you raced. Was it always a goal of yours to reach the Olympics?
I suppose I don't really think I'd thought too hard about it, but yeah, it's one of those things where I remember when I was 9 watching the Sydney Olympic Games, and I thought that was pretty cool and it'd be really cool to do. And then as I was getting a little bit older into my 20s, I realized that the Olympics maybe was within my reach. And so, yeah, sort of made the decision to commit a little bit more to hard training to try to qualify. And I was lucky to qualify for the Rio Olympics. And now I'm hopefully on the way to a second Olympics, and sort of looking back and being like, wow, when did that all happen? It sort of came by really quickly.
Yeah, look at you now, doing awesome.
Thanks.
Right. Now, your sport is a taxing one on the body. I expect there would be a lot of jarring in your joints. Have you experienced many injuries along the way?
I've been really lucky. I've basically not had any major injury issues, and in touch wood, it stays that way for a bit. Yeah, walking's actually a bit lower impact than running, for example, on the road, just because of the way that like shock is absorbed. So in running, you're sort of putting a lot of the force is like maybe 5 or 6 times your body weight, I think, through your knees and your ankles when your foot hits the ground. But when you're walking, it's maybe only 1.5 to 2 times. And so you actually find that a lot of older runners, when they sort of start in their 50s or 60s and they can't run as much anymore, they do end up taking race walking. So there's a really strong masters athletics scene in Victoria in particular in the
Yeah,
walks. And yeah, I think the main challenge is just training your body to get used to the sort of the strange stresses and strains that walking puts on it. So a lot of people find when they're starting out that their shins are really sore because that you're trying to pull your toes up really straight to land on your heel. And you got your little shins trying to work against a calf muscle that's 4 times its size. So that takes a lot of practice to get used to it. But when you walked as many kilometers as I have, yeah, your shins are used to it. You get like super super strong muscles there.
yeah, it must be frustrating sometimes though.
Yeah, I mean, like when you get used to it, like in a race, you're just in a rhythm. You don't really think about it. But yeah, sometimes if I'm in a training session and I'm tired, it's like, oh well, I could get back home a little bit quicker if I ran.
Yeah. Now,
But sorry, you go.
now you've moved up in the ranking as you've got older. I did notice that in the 20-kilometer walk in the World Champs in Doha, you didn't finish. Why was that?
Oh, Doha was probably the most challenging race I've ever done. It was 31, 32 degrees, midnight start, and it was, I think nearly 80% humidity as well, which I think once the temperature gets above about 27 degrees and the humidity starts getting above 65, 70%, just the perceived, like the perception of how hot and hard it is and how difficult it is to exercise just really takes off exponentially. So yeah, I guess I tried to prepare for the heat, and but I was also working full time at the time, and it was just really challenging to get everything right, just with all those variables in play. And unfortunately, I didn't get it quite right. But at the same time, we expect that the Olympics in Tokyo will be pretty warm, even though they've moved the walks and the marathons up to Sapporo. It's still going to be a summer championships, and the lessons that I learned in Doha, I'm going to try to take them and use them to get the best out of myself in Sapporo.
Yeah, it's good to learn from mistakes, though.
Oh yeah, definitely. And life is a learning experience. You don't pop out fully formed and knowing everything. You just kind of got to keep going, keep trying to apply the lessons that you learned in the past, and as well, like try to learn from others and share your knowledge with others as well to make it a bit easier for them.
Yeah. Now, my dad once told me the story of Jane Seville, who was heading into the stadium in front, nearing the end of the 20-kilometer race, and was disqualified. Are you ever scared of that? Because that must have been gut-wrenching for that poor girl.
Yeah, so that happened in the Sydney Olympics, which yeah, it was, I think, basically the first real time that I was really aware of the Olympics and fully understood it. And yeah, the walks was one of those events that I'd watched, and yeah, it was really disappointing for Jane, but particularly because it was a home Olympics, I think, and thought she was going to win a gold medal for Australia. But yeah, I guess that's the risk that you run with. Sorry for the pun with the event group. For me, yeah, I've been pretty lucky in the past that I've got a technique that is pretty safe, and the judges seem to not have much of an issue with it. But yeah, if it happens, then that's just part of the sport. I think every walk has been disqualified at some point because we're all pushing that limit of exactly how fast you can go without running, and when you're pushing that line, sometimes you accidentally go past it. So yeah, I just want to go out there and give it my best shot, and hopefully the judges keep being nice to me.
Yeah, and it happens. In 2014, you narrowly missed the team for the World Championships in Beijing, having the fourth fastest time. Did this moment inspire you on seeing you bounce back straight after to make the Rio Olympics?
Yeah, well, I suppose I'd been having sort of a few other issues with my training environment, coaching environment, and sort of not making that team, and knowing that the Rio Olympics weren't far away. I was thinking to myself, well, I've got to make some changes to what I'm doing if I want to try to make that team. Otherwise, it's not going to happen. And yeah, I got a new coach. I made sure that I joined training camps that were available, just to train with other athletes that were faster than me, and also just training other athletes. If you put yourself in a really good training environment, whether that's in an individual sport or in a team sport, I think that's where you get the best out of yourself, and you see the most improvement. And yeah, I suppose the changes that I made worked, and I had a really good season in 2016 and made the Olympics. And yeah, I thought I had a pretty good performance on the day at the Olympics, considering where I was at. But 5 years down the track, I'd like to think that I've made a bit more progress, and it'd be nice to see if I can get an even higher finish.
Yeah, it looks like those changes worked, though. How tough is it to be expected to represent your country at the highest level, and yet you're not funded at all?
Well, I actually do get a little bit of support from Athletics Australia, and I am a Victorian Institute of Sport scholarship athlete. So, it's not making money hand over fist like a footy player or a tennis player or anything like that. But at the same time, I suppose I try to view these things, or try and view as many things as I can, like in a positive lens, because I find having a negative look at it's not really an effective way for me to use my energy. And so because I work full time or have been working full time through this Olympic cycle, I've been just lowering my work hours a little bit as we've got closer to the Olympics. It means that my funding, I guess, is through my work, and it's not really contingent on my performance one way or the other. And as well, it means when my sport career does finish, and it's inevitable, everyone's sport career eventually finishes, I'll be well set up to have a good job, hopefully, and be able to keep a roof over my head and to support my family when I'm done. So I kind of try to view it as a positive of maybe it means that I'm not quite the best athlete that I could be if I was a full-time athlete, but I'm the best person I can be all around in other aspects. So I think ultimately being the best person you can be is all you can ask for.
Yeah, it's a good thing to think about. Now, we know you were selected to compete in the 20-kilometer walk. That sounds so good, doesn't it? But you were also trying to make it in the 50-kilometer walk. How did that go?
So I've got the automatic standard in the 20-kilometer walk. And the way that the athletics selection works is World Athletics has set a target field for each of the different events, and they set an automatic standard, and they aim to get roughly 50% to 75% of the field from the automatic standard, and then they aim to fill up the rest of the target field size through what's known as like a roll down quota, basically based on who has the highest amount of ranking points. And in the 50-kilometer event, I didn't have the automatic standard, but I was first in line on the ranking points on the world rankings. So I've been selected in the 50 because the selection date for that closed at the end of May, and so then selections were able to be made. And in the 20-kilometer event, that'll close at the end of July, and then they'll be able to make selections based on that. Because the 20-kilometer event in Tokyo, or at the Tokyo Olympics, so in Sapporo, is literally the night before the 50-kilometer event.
Yeah.
I can't practically do both, so I'm going to have to pick one or the other. But it's nice to have, I guess, qualified in both. It's a really satisfying achievement for me, particularly, again, because I've been working full-time and I'm competing against athletes that are in a full-time training environment. And I think it just goes to show that you can do it if you want to do it, and you make the decisions to help you achieve what you want to do.
Yeah, just to let you know, 50-kilometer walk is ridiculous. I haven't travelled that far in the car this week.
Well, I don't think anyone's been travelling very far if they're in Melbourne.
Not in Melbourne. Now, you and Dane Bird-Smith are both in the top 25 walkers in the world. Sounds like a Walking Dead series. Anyway, how far off the top are you guys? And can you catch some of those Japanese on their home soil?
Those Japanese walkers, particularly in the 20K, are just doing amazing things at the moment. But it definitely helps them when they've set their really fast times. It's been in just perfect race conditions. In fact, in 2019, where I set my 20-kilometer PB and qualified for the Olympics, and that feels like ages ago, just because of the pandemic. There was 5 Japanese people just walked really, really quick times, like some of the fastest ever times walked in the world. And having raced there myself, I was like, wow, these are perfect conditions. No wonder they're walking so fast. And it's going to be somewhat different to that walking in August compared to walking in March in Japan. And so I think how they respond to the hot weather will be up to them, and it might bring them a little bit closer to the field. And it'll make it a bit of a challenge. Who prepares the best for the hot weather and has the best race plan, I think will come into it a little bit.
Yeah, it'll be interesting.
Yeah, and sometimes, like if you've raced in conditions that aren't ideal, you might still have had a fast time, but it can be a little bit deceptive as to how far away or how close you are to other people that have raced in perfect conditions. And it also depends, do you have a good group around you to race with, or have you been doing it by yourself and almost time trialing? Yeah, sometimes comparison can be a little bit hard unless you actually line up head to head, and that's what championship events are for.
Yeah. Okay, quick questions. What is the meal you will have straight after completing your events at the Olympics?
Oh, depends where I am. I think probably one of my favourite ones was when I was in Japan, and my race we found a ramen shop
Yeah,
nearby to our race, and yeah, my coach and I just had a big bowl of ramen to celebrate. It was pretty nice. But usually for me, I think something salty is usually appreciated, whether that's chicken parma and chips at the pub, or a bowl of ramen. Just get it in me.
something salty. A bit hard to eat that stuff as an athlete, though, isn't it?
I think, yeah, it depends. You can work up a pretty big appetite when you go and have a big long race like a 20 or a 50K. So yeah, you can usually sink down a lot once your stomach's settled.
Yeah. What do you do in your spare time if you have any?
Yeah, sometimes I feel like I don't have any spare time, but I actually do manage to fit in a few things. I like reading books, and I'm lucky as well. Where I live, there's lots of fruit trees around. So I've got a lemon tree in my backyard. I have a fig tree that hangs over my back fence. There's some fruit trees that are sitting across the road from me as well. So I like to make jam and other sort of fruit preserves when those are around. When the
Gardening
fruit,
and all that?
yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, I make a lot of jam and then give it away to friends as well. So yeah, it's definitely it's fun. It's a good way to just for me to relax and feel like I'm doing something, and means that I'm not walking hard and I'm not also like looking at a screen, because when I'm working, I'm sitting away at a screen for 8 hours. So it's just nice to have something relaxing to do with my hands, and not be too tiring.
Yeah, sounds good. Do you follow any other sport? Surely as a Melburnian, you have a favourite AFL team.
I used to support Essendon, but just with the drug scandal that they had a few years back, I just kind of found it really hard to keep up any enthusiasm for that. But yeah, I do follow Melbourne Victory in the football, in the soccer, and yeah, I guess other than that, it's just yeah, watching Australians do well internationally if I can. I love watching if there's like Cricket World Cup, Soccer World Cup, Rugby World Cup, Winter Olympics. Even at an Olympics, I love being a bit of a spectator. So yeah, just put me in front of any sport, I'll watch it.
Yeah, same with me. When you ring your friends and say, let's go for a walk, do your friends hang up?
I suppose they'd have to ask me what kind of walk is it, whether it's like a race walk or a street walk.
Yeah. When you take the dog for a walk, do you put the dog in the cab or on the way home?
Unfortunately I don't have a pet dog, but
No.
I think if I had one, yeah, I'd need to get a dog that doesn't mind traveling a bit of distance.
Get a lot of exercise in.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, Rhydian, I'm about to prepare for what happens after you win that Olympic medal. You see, you're going to be exhausted, but the media will hunt you because as Aussies, we love medals and we love a great story, and you're certainly that. So the best way to get rid of the exhaustion is to celebrate. And I have the ultimate one for you, the one you can do easily as the camera comes your way. The best celebration in Australia, the Into the Fire.
Oh, that's a good one. That's yeah, it seems like it'd be pretty easy to do at the end of a 50 or a 20K. So I'll remember it.
Yep, you're crossing the line and you just pull out that one. Yep, nice.
Oh, thanks. Thanks for letting me use it.
That's okay. Well, Rhydian, you've already made Australia proud by making it. Enjoy pulling on that green and gold, buddy. You've earned it. Earned it. Good luck when you take on those Japanese in pursuit of gold. I can't wait to see you in Tokyo, buddy.
Thanks. I'll do my best, and yeah, appreciate the kind words.
Thanks, Rhydian.